Today I'll be going over Firefox and Internet Explorer configuration for just Firefox is for all of the operating systems, and then obviously Internet Explorer is for Windows. Um, so for Firefox, you'll usually want to like there's these graphical settings that you can look at. They are in the About Preferences, and one of the things that you want to just do here is make sure that Firefox is your default browser, like it says in this thing. And like the most important thing is the privacy and security tab. Oh, also like the about preferences is just like something you can put into the URL for Firefox, and then it'll send you directly to this. And then so for the graphical settings in the privacy and security tab, like here are like the common things that you should do. I'll just go through it on my own browser right now. So about setting, oh, preferences. Yeah. So right here, like you would want to put this on strict, and then make sure that this is on, always send a do not track signal. This doesn't matter that much. You can set it to do this or not. And then for logins and passwords, you like on Cyber Patriot things at least, you would want to have all of these unchecked. This is just my own like Firefox, so it's obviously a little different. And then for autofill, same thing. History doesn't matter that much, nor does this. Usually for these, you will like disable all of them. Although I don't think there's like much to disable in terms of these permissions. And then definitely have these two things checked just so that you like you're aware when stuff happens. This doesn't matter that much since it's just like Firefox data. And then this part over here is particularly important. This is the security tab. Make sure that this is checked as well as these two, and then make sure to ask every time for certificates, and then always have the HTTPS only mode on. Yeah, so that's it for like this particular section. And then after that, we have the add-ons, about add-ons. So in the competition, sometimes they'll have like random add-ons. Here are mine. This is like, so you can just remove them like this if you actually need to remove something. Yeah. And also you should go down into the plugins and make sure to remove all of these too. Okay, and then after you do the add-ons, then there's also this configuration mode. So for the config mode in Firefox, this is basically like the backend to some of those settings that you would set in the graphical mode for Firefox. Like this is what it'll look like when you first go to it. There will be a bunch of like policy names with these like all of these settings here, and this is basically how you like fine tune control the browser. And to do this, you just go to about config, and usually you'll get this just because they don't want people to like mindlessly use the about config section. You should always just accept the risk and continue, because otherwise you can't do anything. And you don't need to necessarily show all in this. If you'll be looking for like specific preference names. Like if you want to change update settings through here, you could, oh, usually there's like the update dot auto. Yeah, here, like auto update default. Both of these, you can set that to true just by like toggle clicking on it. I believe this is also in the options area, although it's not in privacy and security. You can always just look for it. Yeah, so it has like the Firefox updates, and then you can also just do it through here. But that place is for like, it's usually for the settings that you can't necessarily find in like this menu area here, but are still relevant to Firefox.
Should everything be the default settings?
No, not necessarily, because I think like for at least for Firefox, definitely the default thing is to not update, and the HTTPS thing down here, this was like don't enable, and that was like the default one. So you definitely need to change things from the default. Yeah, good question. Oh, and like just not like necessarily for Firefox, but in general, the same thing will usually apply for like Windows policies and Linux policies and whatever. Like the default is good for some things, but like there are usually other settings that you need to fine tune that are not default. That, yeah, which is why you usually don't just like reset everything in order to configure it. Like you have to actually like import your own configuration file or whatnot. Okay, and then let's see what else. Okay. Yeah, so the bold also the bold thing here in the about config means that the setting is not default. Yeah. Okay, so then there's specific configuration files for Firefox. These are stored in the about config, like the about config references these for like all of the non-default settings. You can find them in like the configuration files. And so for different operating systems, they're stored in different places. For Windows, that would be in this path here, the C users, username, app data roaming, Mozilla Firefox files and whatnot. And then for Linux, it would be here. And this link that I have here is just an example of a good policies that you can use for Firefox for security settings, because it's like very difficult to just set all of these into a file. So it's like good to find policy files like this. And if you want to see like more info on just the Firefox backend process, you can look here. So first I'll just go here and to show you what it looks like. So this is like the GitHub thing for the policy files. The most important thing here is just the users.js, which has like these specific file policies that you need to set. And okay, so I can also go over like what this path here is. I just need to set it up. So for the mine, you would go here, C users, username, and then app data roaming, and then Mozilla. And then usually here you can go there, and then you have the profiles. For some reason, like this one, sometimes it just makes random profiles like this that don't have anything in it. that's fine. You just need to like be aware that it might not be like every folder doesn't. Usually there's only one folder that has a relevant profile when you're configuring Firefox. And then like this is the kind of stuff you want to see. You want to see a bunch of different like files in relation to. Oh shoot, sorry, I just realized that I wasn't sharing my other window. Okay, let me just redo that again then. Hold up. Okay, hold up. Sorry about that. Hold up. This is not what I want. Okay. All right, here. Sorry about that. So you need to go to this like this, and then you have, what's it called? App data, roaming, and then Firefox. Oh shoot. Sometimes the thing is finicky. See users, username. Okay, yeah, so, oh, sorry, it's because you have to go to Mozilla first. Yeah, and so like I said before, sometimes there will be like multiple profiles in here. Just look for the one that has a bunch of files in it. And then after that, the prefs.js is the file that you will be looking for. This is what has all the stuff for like configuring things. And a few notes on this. You're not like technically supposed to set this manually, but it's just a lot easier to. And this is because whenever you exit Firefox, the prefs.js file will reset. So basically, you need to just keep that in mind, and you have to, like, you will probably lose Firefox points if you are configuring it that way and you close Firefox. So whenever that happens, just be mindful of that and like remember that's what would be happening. Just the stuff resets every time you close Firefox if you configure it that way, and you would just need to repaste in the configuration settings. And on Linux, there's a similar path, but like it's like in .mozilla instead. Oh, also another thing about like the Windows path, um the initial thing, app data is a hidden file. It's a hidden directory, so you just might want to be aware of that before you're looking at that so that you can use the show hidden files and folders. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can go over the Linux thing right now. I just need to start up my Linux VM. Okay, just another moment. All right. Nope. Hmm. Okay. I'm not sure what's happening, but I will just do this. Okay, so here's like the virtual machine. And then, yeah, this name is just from me testing around with README files before. Basically, what you do here is you look for the .mozilla directory in your user folder. So like if you ls-la, you will find it here. And then when you do that, you get to the Mozilla directory. And then you just do like the same pathing. So you go to Firefox, then you go to whatever this thing.default. The other folders don't really have much. So then you just go to this. And after that, you have the prefs.js thing here. And I can just like open it now. And yeah, so it looks similar to that config file I showed you where it has a bunch of user prefs with these names that you also see in the about config and like values. Yeah, and also I can just like open up Firefox to show you that it shouldn't really be different on Ubuntu or Windows since I was doing it on Windows before. Like see this thing, other than that it looks a little different, it's pretty much the same process. About config is there and about preferences. It's like pretty similar. Oh, yeah, this looks a little different actually because this is a pretty old version of Firefox, as you can see. Yeah, like this is 54.0, which is super old since this is what usually comes like initially on Ubuntu. So you definitely will want to update it so that you get the new interface. Otherwise, it will be kind of confusing to use about preferences. That's another note. Okay. And then, yep. Okay, then after Firefox, we have Internet Explorer, which is, yeah, Internet Explorer, which is like Microsoft specific, as you probably know. You also often have to configure this because it is a required thing. Yeah, I'm gonna go over this on Windows server as well as like normal Windows, just because there's like a slight difference in between the two. And like here, like some of the common tabs when you go to the settings that you need to consider. And also you can modify this to the group policy, and I'll go over that in a bit. So the first thing would be the internet options. You can actually just search for that in the Windows Explorer thing, and then I will just present the internet options now. Hold up. Okay, so for this, you see like there's internet options. Obviously, the two most important things are like the security and privacy, although you don't want this to be like your default browser. So for this, make sure that you just go onto all of these things here and enable protected mode and turn up the security level to high. Yeah. I'm not going to do that on mine, obviously, because it's like incredibly difficult to use anything with Internet Explorer if you do that, but you definitely need to do that for Cyber Patriot, which is also like a reason why you don't want to do your Cyber Patriot configuration on your own laptop. And then for internet properties, we have like privacy. This is also important. Make sure that this is on. And then this doesn't really matter that much, but also, yeah, just make sure that the pop-up blocker is on. And then content, I think you are usually supposed to like clear the SSL slate. That's something I remember. And for autocomplete, you would just want to like go in there and disable everything. This doesn't really matter that much because it's for VPNs. And for this, just like for Firefox, you probably want to manage the add-ons and then go and disable all of them. And then for the advanced, also just check security. And like there's a ton of different options, but so I'll go over like a few examples. So like something that I would immediately check off is this one, the Enable Windows Defender Smart Screen. That's like the smart screen thing is one of Microsoft's tools for helping you with like it's like a filter basically for bad programs. And so you would definitely want to turn that on. And then also you definitely want to do something like turn on like unsecured images. So like just take a look at those kinds of things. And then also like the do not track request. You just kind of have to go through all of these things and like look at them. Oh, for Internet Explorer, you have to do the I forgot what's it called. You have to, for internet in order to upgrade Internet Explorer, you just have to use Windows updates, and then make sure you apply these. Okay, and then okay, so for Firefox, however, okay, let me just go back to viewing Firefox. For Firefox, when it looks like this, you usually want to go and look for, I think, no, not here. There's like usually an info page. Oh yeah, it's in help and then like about Firefox. And you after that you'll get like a prompt that shows you like an area to update Firefox. And then I can go over how to update Firefox on like the old Ubuntu thing too. Although you would usually just use sudo apt update for Ubuntu. I'll just like show the other way too. So for that one, um, oh, okay. So the password got changed. The thing timed out. Oops. Okay, yeah. So here you would go into this and then press the help menu, since you will definitely still see old versions of Firefox when you do Cyber Patriot. And then you go to about Firefox. I guess since this is Ubuntu, doesn't have like a place to directly update it. So you would have to use sudo apt upgrade, but usually like on Windows, you would see something that says to update it in this about Firefox section. Okay, and then lastly, I will go over group policies for Internet Explorer. So for Internet Explorer group policies, you would want to go to the local group policy editor. And then from there, you usually go to the admin templates and then not all settings, the Windows components. And then from there, you look at Internet Explorer. And the two most important things here, similar to the tabs, is to check the privacy and the security features area. There's a ton of settings here that you wouldn't see in the options, and I don't want to go over all of them because that would be incredibly boring, but usually when you're doing this, you will go and look. So if you're going to configure these, you can either look online for guides, or I know that the CIS benchmarks specifically have something on Internet Explorer, so you would just need to look for the Internet Explorer guideline from CIS to do this. Yeah. And you can look around and see what to do. There's settings like this and whatnot, and there's little descriptions about the policies. It's pretty similar to all of the other group policies.